Let us waste no time on introductions. To have this coat look like leather, I have chosen Dark Rust, Burnt Umber, Gorgon Brown and Ice Yellow as my colors. Today I will be going for a generic brown which will work along any color scheme. The first step will be an homogeneous layer of Dark Rust over all of the surface. 2 thin coats should be enough. Once done, I'll begin texturing with Burnt Umber. For it, I'll dilute my paint a bit more than I normally would, and using a brush with a nice tip, I'll fill in the surface with squiggly lines and scratches. For now, not paying attention to which areas will be shadows or highlights. This is easier said than done, as intentionally trying to make things random often yields the opposite result. But here is a trick to make this process faster and easier. In contrast to putting my hands together for support and grabbing the brush close to the bristles for control, I'll do the exact opposite. With no support and control, drawing the squiggly lines will come naturally. Only thing to have in mind is to assess the distance to the model and avoid pressing hard on the surface. The lighter the touch, the thinner the lines will be, as we can see here on the back of my glove, as I compare pressing the brush down with lightly scratching the surface with it. Once I am done covering everything, I'll move on to Gorgon Brown and add just a pinch of Ice Yellow for that extra opacity the white provides. I'll repeat the same step as before, but this time I'll stay away from the would-be shadow areas. Do a little line here and there going into the shadows will work well to keep the transitions natural. But don't worry about trying to force this, as using the brush in the manner I showed you before will naturally have it slip up here and there. Moving on, I continue by adding more Ice Yellow into the Gorgon Brown. The dilution not only helps the paint flow off the brush, but by being slightly transparent, it won't look as striking when dry as when freshly applied. This makes it so that multiple coats need to be applied in order to reach full opacity, which we are far from looking to reach. Instead, we want to have space for the squiggly lines to go over one another as the texture builds up and not create an homogeneous tone. The texture can be built up to our liking, adding small amounts of Ice Yellow with each layer. One may even consider stopping after the first highlight and calling it there. I'll be taking the model to the extreme and show you how these highlights can be reincorporated to add further detail in the final step. For the final highlight, I focused on the ends of the cloak, which I'd imagine would be more worn out, as well as the bottom side of any gashes and scratches already sculpted on the model. Once finished, I had to fix a mistake I made. Some of the scratches I painted were too long and stood out against all the layers of texture I had created. To solve this, I just had to go back either to Burnt Umber or Dark Rust, and apply a sparing layer of squiggly lines, focusing on breaking up any long lines that caught my attention. The final step is a wash, which will enhance the shadows as well as tint the pale highlights towards something more colorful. And here we can get into different tones depending on the look you're after, but as I said in the beginning, I'm keeping it classic with Burnt Umber, and I'll be using an oil wash both because it will pull much better on the recesses as well as for its richer hue. Once my wash had dried, here is the final look. I am very happy with the result as well as the simplicity of the method. I'll make sure to create a swatch on how to achieve different leather colors in the future. But for now, I hope you found the classic recipe useful. If you do, consider leaving a like, subscribing or sharing the video with a friend. And as always, feel free to leave any questions you may have down in the comments.